Let's discuss this and more with the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. And you're an expert in this area. What do you think? How likely is it that Giuliani, potentially with the former president's help, could successfully fight this in court and block federal prosecutors from accessing his phones and computers?
I think it's very unlikely that he could succeed any more than Michael Cohen, who tried the same thing when his materials were seized. The Justice Department will set up an independent, walled-off team to review whatever they have taken to make sure that anything attorney-client is put to the side and is not used in a prosecution. But I want to underscore just how serious the allegations are that seem to be coming out about this investigation. And that was Rudy Giuliani acting as an agent of a foreign power when, for example, he was smearing the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch. Because if he had the ear of the president, which he did, and if he had the ear of members of Congress, which apparently he did, and was advocating for her removal, both as a way to get her out of the way so that he could help dig up dirt on Joe Biden for the president, but also because he was doing the work of corrupt Ukrainian politicians, that's a really serious offense. And so, as we look at the attorney-client issues, they're important. But what is very important here is that we get to the bottom of whether Rudy Giuliani or anyone else was acting as a foreign agent without informing the U.S. government.
One Trump advisor tells CNN, Congressman, that the Giuliani raid, and this advisor's words, sent a strong message that the Justice Department here in Washington may be more willing to go after Trump and his inner circle. Where do you potentially see the biggest legal exposure for the former president and his close allies?
Well, I think the biggest exposure for the president, the former president, is the indictment in the Southern District of New York, in which he was identified as individual number one. That was the campaign fraud scheme, the hush money scheme to pay these porn stars to keep silent so that it wouldn't impact his election. Michael Cohen had to go to jail over that. The Justice Department said that he should go to jail. Individual one was the person that directed him in that scheme. So that's the president's, I think, greatest exposure. Now, he may have a lot of other exposure in terms of fraud with his businesses or tax fraud, but there it may be more challenging for prosecutors to show whether that knowledge and criminality and liability goes all the way to him personally as opposed to just his company. But in terms of the indictment in the Southern District of individual number one, that to me is great exposure.
Let me get your thoughts on a major development today. While I have you, Mr. Chairman, President Biden just a little while ago publicly announced that he's raising the refugee cap for this year. Refugees to come to the United States, raising it to 62,500 people. He faced enormous backlash, as you know, for initially keeping former President Trump's historically low cap of only 15,000 refugees allowed into this country. What's your reaction to the president's reversal?
Well, I'm pleased with the announcement. I was part of that backlash. Look, we had historically low numbers of refugees during the Trump administration. And that's just not consistent with who we are as a people and who we are as a country. We've always given refuge to people that were seeking a better life. It's part and parcel of who we are. So I'm glad to see President Biden following through on something he committed to do. Another promise kept and an important one, because it really goes to what the United States is about. And there are so many people in desperate straits around the world right now that we ought to live up to that historic and cherished legacy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As a child of refugees, it is so important that we allow these folks to come into our country and build a new life. Congressman Schiff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf.